Today I'm going to talk about moments, the moment of a force, and how we calculate that. Moments are taken around a pivot. So let's draw an example. So that might be some sort of lever, this black line here, some sort of lever, and it's pivoted at one end. That's this end here. So this is the pivot. If we have some sort of force acting downwards, then assuming this situation is balanced, there must be an equal and opposite force acting upwards to balance it. And so if I assume there's another force, let's call this the reaction force, acting up there, then there must be a balanced situation there if this thing's not moving. And we're always going to be concerned with structures on this course. What are the stresses on beams and so on in a given structure that's being designed, and the assumption is always made that this structure is balanced, it's not moving, it's rigid, so therefore all the moments and all the forces must be balancing each other. So we're assuming it's going to be a balanced situation. If you think about it, the effect of this force, down force, if we think about levers for a minute, the effect of this force is more than the size of the force. It's also to do with how far away we are from the pivot around which this thing's turning. We've all used levers before, crowbars, so you know that the further you are from the point of action, the pivot in this case, the greater the effect of the force that you're using. So we define this thing called the moment of the force, which is the force multiplied by the distance the force is away from the pivot. So the moment is defined as force times the distance, and that distance is measured from the pivot. So we can define this thing called the moment of the force. The unit is the unit of force, newtons, times by the units of distance, almost invariably meters. So we would measure moment in Newton meters. We also talk about the direction of these moments. So if we take the pivot and we imagine this thing rotating around the pivot, this lever rotating around the pivot, then it can either rotate clockwise or anti-clockwise. So we define things called the clockwise moments. And the clockwise moments are all the moments where the force is trying to turn the beam clockwise. So if I had this force here, F, that we've talked about already, acting on its own, the beam would be rotating clockwise. So this is a clockwise moment, the moment associated with that force. The reaction force, if it was acting on its own, would be trying to turn the pivot anti-clockwise. So that reaction force is contributing to the anti-clockwise moment. If I had more than one force on here, let's say I had another force acting down there, so force 2, then I would have two forces turning the thing around clockwise, and I'd have to add up the moments of each of those forces. So I'd work out what is this force times that distance, and that would give me that moment, and I'd multiply that force by that distance to get that moment, and then add them together, and that would be the total clockwise contribution. So if the thing is balanced, we say that clockwise moments and hereafter abbreviated by clockwise moments must equal anti-clockwise. I'm going to run out of room. Moments hereafter called anti-clockwise moments. So anti-clockwise moments must equal clockwise moments if the thing is balanced, which it's going to be. And in the notes that you've got, that's called Rule 2. For no other reason than that's the second rule that was written down on the worksheet that you've got. Clockwise moments equal anti-clockwise moments. If we look at this situation again, we've also got a situation where if we've got a balanced beam, which this is, so some sort of balanced beam, the total downward force on this beam, however many forces there are, must equal the total upward forces acting on this beam. So there'd be some sort of force there, another force there, there may be something else acting upwards. All the upward forces must balance the downward forces, otherwise the beam would be either moving up or down, wouldn't it? Okay? So that rule can also be applied together with Rule 1, which is that up forces equal down forces. In a balanced situation. We're always referring to a balanced situation.